Hello Internet, this is Farrell and you're watching the Space Engineers Update Non-Parody for March 2018 after the blog. It's been 11 days since the controversial blog and stream as I record this, and 2 days since the scramble to recover by Marek. I have actually had an unfinished episode of the update parody that would have been released, but after the attempt to walk things back said during the stream, I felt I needed to kind of rewrite the entire thing to better react to what is going on. As a result, this video is going to be far less suited for the usual update parody antics and memes, and is a much more serious review of what has been going on and my reaction to it. Still watching? Well, thanks. Let's go ahead and get started with this. First off, I would point out that the announcement of the stream was made at a decent time frame before the event, but that the solicitation of questions for the stream, which was made just hours before the stream started at a time when most players in North and South America are at work or school, feels to me that Keen honestly didn't want our questions. As such, they were heavily reliant on their Discord community and Twitch chat, with the former being a bastion of Keen can do no wrong supporters in the latter, and its Twitch chat on a busy stream. Good luck getting your question noticed there. So while this was a nice method of getting questions from the community, the level of participation possible was probably not as high as it should have been. I would have liked to have seen more advanced time given to request questions, which also would have given Keen some more options to choose from as far as questions go. Needless to say, the big topic of the stream wound up being Keen's refusal to discuss future feature implementation. And note that I've said that very specifically as opposed to future plans of the game, because plans can and will include things like when they're looking to wrap up development on the PC version, a release date for the console, and frankly I can expect business-oriented things like that to be in a bit of a shroud. Was being put into the game as features, though very much remains a consumer-oriented piece of information, particularly for a product that is heavily reliant on community feedback from said consumers. The live stream event had numerous questions regarding both features that have been teased, like the wind and hydrogen generators, to players wondering if popular feature requests like ladders and female engineer avatars are going to be implemented. The answer for all of these was the same. We will not talk about future plans for the game, and as such, it felt like it was being more as an excuse rather than an honest answer. The March 22nd blog post by Marek provided a more detailed answer to this in two parts, though. The first piece of the response was that they don't want to ruin any surprises for the community, and this is somewhat disorienting given the volume of teasers that have been in update videos and Twitter posts in the past. But having just said that, the very same blog post then teases, "I don't want to ruin any surprises" about the female engineer feature. So Marek has now just given everyone the expectation that they're going to be coming soon. Whether or not that's the case, who knows? It's fair enough to say that Keen realizes the teasers were a mistake and they're trying to walk back from that ledge. But I still have an issue with this overall concept of features being a surprise. It shows a lack of willingness to keep the community informed and involved in the game's development. Early access implies that you have something that may be unstable, buggy, and can change at a moment's notice, but it's also something that we as consumers have invested money into to fuel that development. Shutting us completely out of developments in the game is a poor business practice, especially considering that if we don't like the direction things have gone, we can't exactly get a refund on what we've paid. The second piece of the response was that they needed the freedom, flexibility, and prioritization on how they implement features in the game because of the limited team size working on the game. For once, I'm in complete agreement. What sounds like a simple feature can very quickly turn into needing to rewrite a major chunk of the game to be able to accommodate it, and sometimes those changes have to take place gradually over time. But why can't Keen publish a simple list of features being considered? Something like, here's a list of features that we are considering adding to the game. This list will change over time as some potential features may prove to be too impossible to implement in the current engine or would impact game performance significantly. This list already exists to a point in the feedback system. However, that list is so long and full of ideas that overlap because of so many different ways to describe an idea. So it's hard to actually check to see if your idea even is on the list. Committing to such a list and keeping that list updated on a somewhat regular basis would help reassure the community that favorite features are still potentially going to be implemented. You can take that a step further and potentially even do the occasional update on why some features are harder to implement than others. I'm sure ladders and female engineers probably falls under the "we need to redo the avatar system to make this work," followed up with "and we don't want to break the skins we've added, plus we need to develop alternate versions of the skins to be able to work for the male and female avatar." It wouldn't take much time to actually put something like this together, no more than a few sentences, but it would go a long way in stopping the wild expectations about what's going on in updates. Which brings us to managing expectations. And in full fairness, as players, we have some pretty unrealistic expectations at the rate of development and bug fixes, but a more realistic expectation that as stakeholders in a product we have invested in, that we are informed about progress and things to come, because we are all very much a part of Keen's extended QA family. And this is an area I believe Keen can make some improvements. For example, in order to submit a bug report currently that didn't cause the game to crash in a way that was specific enough to allow the send crash log screen to appear, one has to register for the Keen Software House forum, type up a bug report formatted in a very specific way in the bug forum. That forum itself isn't the easiest thing to search through because, well, it's an internet forum, so by default you only see topics with recent replies from anyone up at the top of the list. What would be more appreciated would be something that was a little better suited to bug reporting, such as a website that you could report a bug at where you could attach a copy of your world with instructions on how to compress and do so without needing to upload it to the Steam Workshop in the right format that you're expecting to be able to work with, and possibly provide the ability to analyze the words in the bug report and see if it's possibly related to one that has already been reported and may still be open. Bonus points if it provides for notification if QA needs to follow up with you personally on the bug, perhaps to know if it's still an issue after an upgrade, or to ask for more information or a copy of the world if you didn't provide one. Because in all fairness, I suspect a lot of bugs aren't being reported because bug reporting is a major hassle and takes quite a bit of time. So, bug reports may not necessarily be in a volume high enough to make Keen aware that there is even a major problem with a specific bug. But Keen is not without some expectations of their own that need managing. As players, we have invested in the product, and as such, we have a right to know what is being done to that product. Hiding behind the cloak of "we want to surprise you" and "it's early access" only serves to fuel the social media rants because you've effectively adopted a disrespectful tone. Even if we're not looking at the long-term list of what is going into the game, one assumes that a list of items being considered for the short term, such as the next major or minor update, is something that would be well appreciated. Again, I hold up Factorio patch notes and dev blogs as an example of some pretty solid ways to report this kind of information, or HBS's Battletech beta dev updates that did an excellent job of explaining why they changed several major mechanics mid-course during the beta. Finally, I would be remiss in pointing out that the modding and scripting community needs some love from the dev team. From what I've heard from several modders on the ARMCode Discord, the documentation is in the state of shambles, and it feels like some feature changes that get implemented don't take into consideration the impact they have on mods. Again, with the game in a constant state of flux, this is to be expected, but it needs to be considered given that many players are still enjoying the game on a regular basis, along with the content creators helping to keep your game in the spotlight to continue drawing new players, are the few things holding back a deluge of even more requests for features that would require another 5 years to work in the game. The mods are saving you from that. So if you haven't already, a QA session for the mod and script makers with some extra time provided to get more questions would be a good candidate for your next community QA in my opinion. So that's where we're at right now. Status quo, but with a rate of updates slowed down. I'm hoping that we'll see some good solid updates from the Keen side, and with a bit more breathing time between the updates for heads on both sides to cool down when things go wrong. Also, I would like to point out that there is a reply in the second blog post from Marek where he does point out that Keen is still committed to doing hotfixes to fix any major bugs that pop up, and they'll fix only those problems. With all that in mind, from the update standpoint, things should be better, but as he points out, the expectations on both sides of the fence will probably need to continue to be addressed. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you later.